The air inside the sedan was thick with something David couldn't name, but he'd felt it the moment she pulled out of the driveway.
You're going to love this tour, Dad. It's a really nice place.
She never used to call anything a tour before. Something's off.
The building that rose into view was modern and calm, but the sign read Willow Creek Memory Care. David's stomach tightened.
Miss Cole, we're here for the consultation. This is my father, David.
Of course, Mr. Whitmore, right this way. I have the paperwork all set.
Patricia placed a clipboard on the counter. At the top, the words petition for guardianship were already printed.
Wait, what exactly is this? I thought this was just a tour.
Dad, it's just a standard intake document. You sign these everywhere. Don't be difficult.
An aide took his arm and led him through the locked doors. The bolt clicked shut behind him. The first night inside Willow Creek settled over the ward like a weighted blanket, muffling every sound. Just before midnight, the night nurse came to check his vitals.
Blood pressure's good, Mr. Whitmore. You sleep okay so far?
He hadn't given his last name when he signed in. Why did she know it?
As she noted his readings, the nurse's eyes flicked toward the hallway window, then back to her tablet. After she left, David rose and crossed to the window. Down in the darkness, a security lamp lit a carved cornerstone. The name Whitmore was etched deep into the stone.
1987. I bought this land as a tax shelter. The deed was never transferred.
He stood there a long minute, hands clasped behind his back, the faintest curve at the corner of his mouth. The daughter who'd locked him in had no idea her father owned the very building that caged him. The next morning, the dining room smelled of powdered eggs and resignation.
That aide just handed her a sedative without checking the chart. Wrong patient, wrong drug.
By the TV, a man in a wheelchair sat with his lunch tray untouched. No staff approached for 10 minutes. David filed every mistake into a mental catalog that had never needed a backup drive. At 11, the front doors buzzed open and Jessica walked in, a visitor's badge clipped to her blouse.
Dad, the staff says you've been quiet. I hope you're not giving them trouble.
No trouble, sweetheart. Just adjusting.
Good. I just need you to cooperate. This is for the best.
She's already eyeing the exit. 12 minutes, maybe. Enough time to file the visit report.
She kissed his forehead and left, the door clicking locked behind her. That afternoon, from his jacket lining, David retrieved a small black notebook he had carried for years.
Day 2. 8:15 a.m., med error room 14. 9:20 a.m., patient unattended for 25 minutes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Whitmore. We're short-staffed again. Sometimes it's just 2 of us for the whole wing.
Understaffing confirmed. She just handed me a time-stamped admission without realizing.
Every observation went into the notebook, names, times, omissions. That night, as the lights dimmed, a tiny red blink pulsed in the corner of the ceiling.
A camera. She really doesn't trust her own playbook.
He rolled onto his side, facing away from the lens, and continued writing under the edge of the blanket.
Ms. Whitmore's office calls every morning. We have to report your status before 10.
David made a note of that too, closed the book, and returned it to his inside pocket, expression unchanged. On the 4th afternoon, Jessica returned, this time with a lawyer in a gray power suit.
Dad, this is Monica Crane. She's going to help us get your affairs in order.
Mr. Whitmore, this is a standard asset transfer agreement. It allows us to fund your continued care here.
And if I choose not to sign this standard agreement?
Then things get complicated, Dad. The staff here can make sure you're very comfortable. Do you understand?
There it is, the threat. Clear, recorded, and delivered right on cue.
We can file the paperwork with or without your consent. It's really in your best interest to cooperate.
I imagine there are consequences for that. I'll need time to consider my options.
Your time ran out when you walked through those doors. Sign the paper, Dad.
Beneath the table in his jacket pocket, the recorder had captured every word. 2 days later, Maria handed David a cheap flip phone with a wink. A burner.
Lawrence Lawson, please. It's David Whitmore.
David, where are you calling from? Is everything all right?
No, I'm inside Willow Creek Memory Care. Jessica had me committed under false guardianship.
That's illegal without proper evaluation, but we can fight it. What do you have?
The building, Lawrence. The one I bought in '87. The deed is still in my name.
The Willow Creek property? That forms the basis of a fantastic counterclaim. I'll pull the records.
Also, I have recordings of Jessica threatening to increase my medication, and a log of every violation inside this place.
Sit tight. I'll prepare an emergency motion. We'll expose her in court.
David ended the call, slid the phone back under the mattress, and stared at the hidden camera without flinching. The next morning, David watched a nurse's aide drop a pill on the floor, pick it up, and place it back in the cup.
Unsanitary. Repeated. Room 8. Add to the log and photograph the cart.
Later, Angela passed by with a tray of syringes. He caught a brief, worried glance she gave the empty nurse's station.
Mr. Whitmore, don't walk near room 16. The floor is buckling, but maintenance never comes.
Structural neglect, witnessed by staff. She's handing me ammunition without knowing it.
That evening, David photographed the buckled floor and the overstated patient in room 9. Using the burner phone's camera, he captured images no inspector would ignore.
Senor Whitmore, why are you always writing? You're like a detective.
Just old habits, Maria. Keeps my mind sharp.
He sealed the evidence into encrypted files and sent it all to Lawson's secure server that night. While David cataloged abuse inside the facility, Lawrence Lawson followed a quieter paper trail. The lease ledger revealed a pattern. The nursing home's operator had been paying monthly rent for 12 years. Every check went to a trust controlled by David Whitmore's LLC, the same entity that held the original 1987 deed.
David, the lessee who pays the rent, is a company your son-in-law manages. Jessica's husband has been writing the checks.
David heard the numbers and let a long pause settle, the kind that says a plan just doubled its weight.
So they're not just exploiting me through guardianship, they're exploiting my own building to do it.
Exactly. That's a financial crime angle. We can tie asset seizure to self-dealing.
Good. Add it to the motion and find out if the husband's company has any audit exposure.
Already pulling tax filings. We'll have everything ready for the hearing.
She thought locking me in would make me disappear. Instead, she gave me the keys to the whole property.
The guardianship review was scheduled for the 21st. By the time Jessica received the notice, her attorney had already called twice in a panic. She walked into Willow Creek the next afternoon without makeup, jaw tight, eyes scanning for him.
Dad, we need to talk. You have to drop this legal challenge. It's hurting everyone.
Everyone? You mean you? And I won't drop anything, Jessica. You put me here?
Then you leave me no choice. I tried to be kind.
Before David could answer, she turned and snapped her fingers at the floor nurse.
Double his sedatives tonight. Doctor's verbal order. If he resists, mark it as aggression.
The nurse looked from Jessica's ID badge to David, her hands trembling slightly.
Recorded. Another count of attempted harm. She's handing the prosecution everything.
Jessica walked out without another word. The sedation order was logged into his file. The night before the hearing, the ward fell silent. David lay awake, the small black notebook open beside him.
She was 3 years old when I first held her. Now she wants to empty my veins. But the truth isn't a weapon. It's a mirror. She'll see herself in it tomorrow.
He sent a final encrypted message. Everything is ready. Then deleted the chat.
Lawrence, the file is complete. See you at 9.
He slid the phone back under the mattress and stared at the ceiling, where the camera's red light blinked.
Watch all you want. The real evidence is already on the docket.
He closed his eyes, and for the first time in weeks, slept without dreaming.
Tomorrow I walk into a courtroom, and out of this cage.
Dawn broke over Willow Creek, but the real sunrise was still hours away. By 7:30, David was dressed in the same charcoal sweater he arrived in. The staff watched him with a mixture of confusion and unease. A court-appointed driver met him at the exit. As the doors unlocked, David glanced once at the cornerstone.
Property of David Whitmore since 1987. She never even noticed.
The sedan pulled away from Willow Creek, and the building shrank in the side mirror. Half an hour later, the county courthouse loomed, reporters clustered on the steps, but David walked through them like a ghost. In the marble hallway, Lawrence Lawson fell into step beside him. "All set?" David nodded once. They pushed through the courtroom doors. Inside, Jessica and Monica Crane were already seated at the plaintiff's table.
You look pale, Dad. Are they not feeding you in there?
I've had plenty to chew on, Jess, more than you know.
The bailiff called the court to order, and Judge Harrison strode in, robes rustling. Judge Harrison settled behind the high bench, adjusting his reading glasses as the chatter died.
Good morning. This is the guardianship review for David Whitmore. Are both parties ready?
Yes, Your Honor. The petitioner, Jessica Whitmore, argues that her father is no longer capable of self-care. We will show a pattern of confusion, memory loss, and poor judgment. His daughter only seeks to protect him.
Jessica dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. David noted she was careful not to smear her makeup.
Protect me by stripping my accounts and sedating me into silence. I've heard that before.
For his safety, we request full transfer of his liquid assets and property into a court-supervised trust for his care.
Objection. My client is competent and has overwhelming counter-evidence. This hearing is premature at best.
Noted, Mr. Lawson, but I'll hear the petitioner's full argument. Overruled. Proceed.
David's hand stayed clasped on the table, unmoving. He'd waited weeks. Another hour was nothing.
We move to freeze all of Mr. Whitmore's personal accounts immediately to fund his ongoing care at Willow Creek.
Your Honor, before we entertain that, the defense moves to introduce counter-evidence that renders this entire petition moot.
Lawson opened a folder and placed 2 documents on the evidence table. The first was a yellowed property deed.
This is the original 1987 deed to the building that houses Willow Creek Memory Care. The listed owner, David Whitmore.
The second document was a lease ledger showing 12 years of rent payments to a trust controlled by David's LLC. Jessica's tissue dropped. Her face drained of color as she stared at the documents.
Objection, Your Honor. This has no bearing on Mr. Whitmore's mental state. It's a distraction.
Overruled. These documents establish that the petitioner is trying to seize assets from the very man who owns the facility. I'll allow it.
Now they see it. The cage was mine all along.
The courtroom buzzed. In the front row, a reporter typed frantically. The case had just turned inside out. Judge Harrison removed his glasses, laid the deed beside the lease ledger, and traced the payment columns. His jaw tightened.
So the facility's operator pays rent to a trust controlled by Mr. Whitmore, correct?
Your Honor, this is a separate matter. The guardianship concerns his mental capacity, not real estate.
But it reveals motive, Miss Crane. A daughter seizing assets while her husband's company writes the rent checks. That's a conflict of interest.
She's drowning, and she doesn't know how deep the water really is.
Indeed, Your Honor. The same husband manages the company that has been paying the lease for over a decade.
Another murmur ran through the gallery. Someone in the back whispered, "That's fraud."
Order! This court will hear the full extent of these financial arrangements. I'm deeply concerned by what I'm seeing.
Jessica gripped Crane's arm, whispering frantically. Her confidence had collapsed into a tight, desperate mask. The judge called a 10-minute recess. Everyone in that room knew the case was already lost. When the recess ended, Lawrence Lawson rose holding a small black recorder. He placed it gently on the evidence table.
Your Honor, the defense offers audio evidence of the petitioner ordering a staff member to double Mr. Whitmore's sedatives.
Play it.
Double his sedatives tonight. Doctor's verbal order. If he resists, mark it as aggression.
The courtroom gasped. In the jury box, a woman's hand flew to her mouth.
That's my daughter's voice, cold as a scalpel, and she thought she could bury me with it.
That's taken out of context. It was a necessary medical adjustment.
Sit down, Ms. Whitmore. Another outburst, and I'll have you removed.
The recording continued. Her instructions, clinical and merciless, filled the chamber like ice water. When the tape stopped, the silence in that room was heavier than any gavel could break. Lawson called Maria Lopez to the stand. She smoothed her scrubs, raised her right hand, and swore to tell the truth.
We were short every shift, 2 aides for 60 beds. I saw medications mixed up, patients left in soiled sheets for hours.
Lawson handed her a copy of David's notebook entries. She traced the dates with her finger and nodded.
He watched everything, wrote it all down. I saw him, but I never thought he'd use it to help us.
Next, Angela Cruz approached the stand, her steps measured, her eyes fixed on the floor.
I told Mr. Whitmore about the dangerous floor in room 16. I filed 3 reports. Nothing ever got fixed.
And the sedation order you received from Ms. Whitmore, was that documented properly?
No. She told me verbally to double the dose. I never saw a doctor sign for it. I was afraid to refuse.
Judge Harrison removed his glasses again and leaned forward, his gaze moving slowly between Jessica and the witness.
This testimony corroborates the log and recordings. The facility appears to have operated in gross neglect. I'll now hear closing arguments.
These notes are the scribblings of a bitter old man. There's no proof he didn't fabricate the whole log after being admitted.
Careful, counselor. We have 2 staff members corroborating the timeline. Unless you have evidence of fabrication, move on.
The audio recording? Anyone can splice a voice. We don't know it's Ms. Whitmore.
The witness already identified the voice, and the metadata was verified this morning. Is that your entire defense?
Crane's hand shook as she flipped through her notes. The silence stretched.
She's falling apart. This can't be happening.
No further questions, Your Honor. The defense rests.
She never had a case, just a script.
Jessica gripped the edge of her chair, knuckles white. Her gaze darted toward the exit, but there was no leaving now. In the hush, Judge Harrison turned a page and looked directly at David.
This court finds David Whitmore fully competent and the original guardianship petition filed in bad faith. It is denied. The evidence of code violations at Willow Creek is overwhelming. I order the facility evacuated immediately and its operations suspended. Furthermore, Miss Whitmore, you are personally liable for all costs of relocation and code remediation. I'm ordering the county prosecutor to investigate you for attempted criminal abuse, fraud, and exploitation.
No, you can't do this. He's old, he's confused. I was protecting him.
She rose from her chair, but the bailiff stepped forward. Her legs gave way. The sound that left her was not grief, but the collapse of a lie.
She never knew the building was mine. From the day she tricked me into signing, she was already a tenant without a lease.
This hearing is adjourned. Mr. Whitmore, you are free to go.
The gavel fell once, sharp as a period at the end of a sentence. David rose, straightened his charcoal sweater, and walked past his daughter without a word. The courtroom doors swung shut behind him, sealing Jessica's sobs inside. The marble hallway stretched ahead.
Freedom wears the same charcoal sweater it wore 6 weeks ago. Nothing's changed, but everything's different.
Lawrence Lawson fell into step beside him, a rare smile breaking through his professional mask.
We did it, Lawrence, now. The building needs a new tenant. I'll handle the lease myself.
At the hallway's end, a wall of cameras flashed. Reporters surged forward, microphones jutting like weapons. "Mr. Whitmore, do you feel betrayed?" they shouted, but he kept walking.
Betrayal is just business poorly handled. I handled mine.
He passed through them without a glance, his hands still clasped behind his back.
They want a soundbite. They'll have to subscribe to the court transcript.
He pushed open the courthouse doors and stepped into the bright afternoon, alone. He descended the courthouse steps and paused at the edge of the parking lot. The asphalt stretched under him, still his.
Every lease on this block runs through my LLC, including the one the county just voided.
A breeze stirred his silver hair as he looked back at the courthouse.
She thought she could bury me in paperwork, but I was the one holding the deed.
The smile that crossed his face was not gleeful, just certain. He had no car, no phone, no escort. He didn't need any of it.
I walked into that hearing with nothing but a notebook. I'm walking out with everything.
He started walking, heading toward the tree-lined streets of downtown.
Freedom wears comfortable shoes.
David Whitmore disappeared into the afternoon, a man who owned far more than any building. An hour later, in a quiet cafe, David sat by the window with a black coffee.
The same blend he'd missed. Bitter, black, and exactly how he liked it.
His new phone buzzed. A news alert. Willow Creek Memory Care ordered evacuated after court ruling.
Fast work. The county moved before the ink dried.
He scrolled past the headline to a photo saved on the device. The cornerstone, Whitmore, taken through his room window.
She never saw it. But that name was there before she was born, and it'll be there long after.
He zoomed in on the weathered stone, the name that had carved his entire strategy. A smile deepened at the corners of his eyes, the first genuine one in weeks.
The owner always has the last key.
And David Whitmore had never, not once, surrendered a key he intended to keep. By sunset, the last ambulance left Willow Creek. No lights remained inside. The doors were chained. The sign that once promised care was blank. In the stillness, the cornerstone was fully visible for the first time in decades. A hairline crack ran through the engraved Whitmore, a mark the building would carry. David stood across the street, a paper coffee cup still warm in his hand. He looked up at the building, and a slow breath left him. The parking lot was his. The walls were his, the name carved in stone his. The woman who'd tried to steal his last years was now learning what it meant to be propertyless. He turned and walked toward a home that had never needed a nursing wing. Because some men don't carry keys. They write the deeds.